Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm Seth Benton, otherwise known as S-Ben. My name is not Ben. I just want to put that out there. I've accidentally named myself Ben with this bad username. Um, my pronouns are he, him, and I've been working on SourceCred since March of 2019. So about 2.5 years, which is a long time in crypto. SourceCred is a tool for communities to measure and reward value creation. The origins of SourceCred can be traced to Juan Benet, who is the CEO of Protocol Labs, who was struggling with how to reward open source contributors whose work Protocol Labs was relying on, for instance, IPSF with P2P, and had this idea: what if we paid all these contributors with crypto? And they met SourceCred's founder, Dandelion, and who happened to have all these ideas around SourceCred, and it was a perfect fit. And so Dandelion, who was working at Google at the time, dropped out of Google to work on SourceCred full time from some support from Protocol Labs, who's been our main sponsor here this whole time. Just a little bit of a history. There were people inside Google who were interested in SourceCred and looking to fund it, but Dandelion did a little soul searching and realized that the underlying ideology here is fundamentally anti-corporate. It would not be compatible with Google. And so they went off on their own and founded SourceCred. A little bit of my origins. I've been in the crypto space since 2017. And in 2018, with the market crash, I found myself facing the horrifying prospect of having to get a job, which I didn't want to do. And I was lucky enough to find one of the first DAOs back in 2018, where you could permissionlessly work on open source and get paid. And that was the Decred DAO. Basically, you just started contributing. If you were delivering value, they just started paying you, which was like really a revelation for me and made me believe that this is actually a viable way to make a living. And this is funded by 10% of the block rewards from the Decred blockchain. And it had plenty of money. I believe they have like $75 million or something in their dev fund right now. So this, I like to give them a little credit. This could be the first fully self-sustaining open source project right here. They're still going since 2016 and looking to go decades. There was a little problem here, though, that I ran into, which was the way it worked is you would work on whatever you wanted, submitted invoice, and they would pay you. But sometimes they wouldn't pay the invoice. And when you asked, you just got silence. They would never say why, what was billable, why an invoice was not paid. And what I eventually discovered was that there was kind of this opaque secret system going on that treated the contributors adversarially. These were OG Bitcoiners who were really big on adversarial thinking. And that kind of just bothered me. I wanted a little bit more sovereignty and agency over what was paid, because the system was leading to people having a lot of anxiety around submitting invoices, not billing for a lot of the work that they did, underbilling, et cetera. And this is a quote from the project lead, which taught me a lot. Custody is king, second is valuation. What I realized is that I needed to work on the valuation piece. I was tinkering around with GitHub metrics and stuff, which I could which could be like a credibly neutral way for contributors to do their own valuation. And then I found SourceCred, which Dandelion and their co-founder William Shargan had already built like the version 1, and it was like light years away ahead of what I was playing with. And I just got sort of uncomfortably excited and have been working on SourceCred ever since. So SourceCred's approach can be described as intersubjective. We realized that objective metrics such as per commit, or per line of code in GitHub are too gameable. They're also just, blind to a lot of work that's not captured by the metric. Subjective approaches, such as contributors reviewing each other or giving a rating to each contribution, tend to be too biased and don't scale too well. I think Coordinape is kind of proving that a more subjective method can work really well and be intersubjective too. We're looking to trial Coordinape internally actually to get some experience with it, but subjective approaches do kind of have this problem. And so the solution that Dandelion came up with is to use PageRank, which, if you're not familiar, PageRank is the algorithm that Google famously uses to rank their web pages. Except here, instead of web pages sort of voting for each other, like based on hyperlinks, you have contributors and contributions voting on each other based on interactions on, like, for instance, GitHub was the first thing. So if you merge a pull request, you're voting for that pull request, similar to a website voting for the importance of another website by putting a backlink to it. And here you can see a little diagram of how that could happen with like an in-person conversation leading to a forum post, which leads to a feature on GitHub, reviews, etc. Basically, all of the nodes in this will eventually get a cred score from this interaction. Here is the SourceCred UI currently. It's a pretty basic leaderboard, although we're looking to improve that and explore different UI. The platforms we currently support are GitHub, Discourse, and Discord. We have been, there are a lot of use cases for SourceCred, obviously, but an obvious one is just paying people according to cred scores. And that's what SourceCred has been doing in what we call the cred experiments. This began in September 2019, so a little over 2 years ago. We've distributed a little over 2 million grain, which is our token, not an actual token, FYI, just a token on our internal ledger. The USD value of that's been paid out to contributors is very roughly, I'd say like 170, there's a typo, 1.75 million or so. I say very roughly because I was too lazy to do the accounting for this. Grain has been backed 1-to-1, one grain, $1 for most of the time. There have been times when that peg has dipped a little bit, and that's where you see that discrepancy there. But yeah, roughly 1.7 million. We started small. There was definitely a worry that this could introduce some like bad dynamics. So we started off with distributing 500 grain a week, and then slowly ramped up to 20,000 grain a week, which is where we've been at ever since. The grain has been backed mainly by Protocol Labs, who buys the grain from contributors or individuals, or a little bit from tithing, which I'll talk about in a minute. So basically, the only way so far that you've been able to earn grain in SourceCred is by working for it or buying it directly from contributors, or supporting the project via tithing. Here's a sample of some integrations that we have. Definitely not a comprehensive list. MakerDAO is our first major user. That's who I have been most closely working with, and we've been doing some exciting work there. Friends with Benefits, TEC. I saw the forum post the other day about kind of rolling out more SourceCred stuff, so excited about that. Also excited to hear that it's already being used. I was pretty sure that was true, but I was glad to hear it is. Stacks, which is a blockchain built on the Bitcoin blockchain, actually. Metagame, who is our first user. OneHive, who's been a longtime user, and many more. In fact, there's probably more that I don't know about at this point than I do. So tithing, this has been the main way that we have supported ourselves other than sponsorship from Protocol Labs. We suggest projects give us 5% of the tokens distributed through SourceCred. That's just a suggestion. It can be more, it can be less, and some projects choose to do less. That's currently covering, last I checked, around 8% of our costs. Yeah, shout out to Maker, Metagame, OneHive, and Stacks in particular. They've been some of our biggest tithers and supporters. Successes, it works. I've realized this since I found the project, but it's been incredibly satisfying to watch other communities turn SourceCred on and get excited about it. We often find people get sort of uncomfortably excited about it and kind of go, which we call being source pilled. Once they realize sort of the things that this unlocks, often their own side projects that they thought were impossible until they found SourceCred. SourceCred does promote decentralization. Definitely seen that inside the SourceCred project and in other projects. If you're flowing a significant amount of money according to cred scores, then basically every interaction that users have, whether that's emoji reactions, a comment on a forum post, merging a pull request, whatever, is changing cred scores and therefore changing how money and influence is distributed in the project. So this is effectively decentralized management. New use cases, we're seeing sort of kind of an explosion of new use cases being explored. We have some projects minting NFTs or badges based on cred score. We have projects using SourceCred to determine their token allocations. Gitcoin used SourceCred in part to determine some of their initial token allocations when they did their token launch a few months ago. Agave, which is a fork of Aave on the XDAI chain, also used SourceCred. Full disclosure, I ended up getting around $20,000 just from random contributing in OneHive and getting tokens from my cred score. So that's a paid advertisement there. We've got a lot of new plugin ideas. Roam is looking to use this internally, and there's a lot of people who have wanted to do a Roam plugin in the past. Metacred, which I'll talk about a little bit more later. Their SourceCred is going to be one input into Metacred. Coordinape, we've had a couple people come into chat excited about a Coordinape integration, and I think that that's an exciting idea. And then really quick, a couple just cool projects that have come in is a DAO coordinating worldwide recycling of plastic. A Netflix executive who has a DAO trying to overthrow Hollywood. We have a fairly large platform who I'm not at liberty to discuss, but like they could enable exit to community at scale, which is really exciting too. Challenges. There have been challenges. Like when people first encounter SourceCred, their first reaction is often, isn't this a Black Mirror episode? And the answer is, yes, it was. It's called Nosedive. And it's like this dystopia where everyone just goes around raiding each other with an app. We take this very seriously. We've discussed dystopian outcomes and, this Black Mirror episode since the very beginning. We welcome all criticism and like calling out dystopian potentials. I think that we've done a good job, but if you see some dystopian shit going on, please come talk to us. You will get cred for telling us that. And we do listen. Not rewarding real work has been an issue. Communities turn us on and the community loves it. Everyone's giving each other money, but right now it's difficult to direct cred towards specific like domains of work, for instance. Right now you can roughly do that at the platform level, in the sense that GitHub, like if you meant more cred to GitHub, that's generally rewarding development more. If you're rewarding Discord, it's more community engagement, etc. There are some interesting ideas to address this. Right now, I'm working with Maker on a customized governance boost instance that will mint more cred on governance activities, such as putting up MIPS improvement proposals, working the MIPS process on GitHub, putting up signal requests, stuff like that. Excited about that. Another common thing we're hearing, especially lately, is that SourceCred rewards extroversion and just people being vocal. This is a screenshot from the Friends with Benefits Discord, where someone is pointing that out. I will point out that this person has just got paid a lot of cred for complaining about this, but it is a real issue. We hear you, introverts. Invisible labor. Obviously, even if you're an extrovert, there is a lot of invisible labor that isn't captured by the algorithm. Notably care work, project management and leadership and design are some of the areas that people have been particularly interested in. There are ideas around do plugins or just hacking existing plugins to address this. We're looking at trialing Coordinate internally to try to reward some of this invisible labor and get some lived experience, because we think Coordinate's really cool. Income volatility. Having worked in crypto and DAOs since 2018, this doesn't bother me. I'm dead inside, but most people are not. They want some more stability, and that can be hard when you're being paid by an algorithm where the cred score goes up and down. Solutions that we've seen implemented alongside SourceCred are adding salaries for core members. Internally, we have a couple of devs who have asked for that, and they're going to be getting that soon. Coordinate, we've seen SourceCred and Coordinate used in conjunction in a few projects. They seem to be nice and complementary. And like I said, we're going to trial it too. There are also algorithmic solutions. There are ways to treat the payout formula such that the volatility in payouts is smoothed. One challenge there is, I think, also just education. When I look at the algorithms, I see pretty strong income guarantees, but people that are not used to being paid by algorithm do not see those and do not just blindly trust the algorithm, that the algorithm will do it at once. And there's also an educational barrier to like teaching people how to tweak the algorithms themselves. And we're still working on that, which leads to another big challenge, which is algorithm complexity. PageRank is a fairly complex algorithm, and some of the plugins can be fairly complex. And it's hard for us internally sometimes to understand what's going on and make tweaks. So it's like even harder for a lot of our communities to do so. And even though the scores tend to be very legitimate for people, they see the scores reflecting their reality and their sites. There is there is a desire to understand the algorithms and have more sovereignty in tweaking the algorithms themselves. And actually that's a reason that we are working on a new experimental optional algorithm called CredEquate, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. But basically the idea with CredEquate is to provide an optional algorithm which trades off potentially some security or robustness to gaming with an easier to understand, more legible algorithm that communities can tweak themselves. So communities should be able to create their own plugins for different ideas that they have. Excited about that. And then, so many challenges. Probably the one that it's most painful to me as someone who maintains instances is it's fairly labor intensive. Those of you out there who have tried to work with SourceCred, I feel your pain. Basically, SourceCred is a command line tool there's a bit of a learning curve in how to use and run it. Part of this is because of intentional trade-offs around decentralization. One of the ways that we prevented this from becoming a Black Mirror episode is we wanted the infrastructure to be decentralized. If we just created a scalable web app on AWS, say, that would have made things much, much easier, obviously. But then it becomes much easier to become mega Google Yelp for people. The way it's set up now, all the data is currently on your laptop or on your GitHub, which gives you more control over your data and customization, but comes at a cost. And sorry, I'm realizing that I only have 5 minutes.
Yeah, right. And we're so excited to learn more about this new algorithm.
Yes. Yeah. There'll be more coming out there. Man, I'm just gonna
20 slides left. Oh my God.
I am so sorry. I did not think this was going to take that long. I'm just going to race through some stuff. Mm-hmm. Cred scores are used informally for governance. We've also started doing cred weighted voting, which is super cool. It's kind of like knowledge extractable voting with cred scores. We're looking at indigenous modes of governance. We're working at the Stacks Advocates Governance Lab. We might have Tyson Yonkampur, the author of Santa, come in the new year. So look out for that. We're exploring internally with our governance, we're exploring sociocracy and discos, if you're familiar with those. We have a bot now that does cred weighted voting, which is very cool. Our first poll was essentially do you want SourceCred to be a startup? And the answer was basically, no, we don't. And if we can also like add a decay here so that like the contributions of recent contributors are weighted more. And TLDR, SourceCred doesn't want to be a startup, or most of us don't. Things are working pretty well overall. Roadmap, we're looking to do on-chain grain distribution, credit equate algorithm, making SourceCred easier to use, like a basic web app through GitHub, self-service identity, more automation, Node4j, we're putting all the data into a graph database. We're looking to work with Metacred and the Web3 ecosystem generally, looking to do a token launch here in the next few months. No promises whatsoever, because basically our governance is like, we are moving to a more like town halls with like using like a more consensus consent-based decision-making and cred-weighted voting, it looks like. And the community is still kind of refining its mission and vision and its governance and tokenomics. We have some, for the last, since August, we've had researchers embedded in our Discord watching us, doing some cool ethnography research. There's a link in here to the post, but like, yeah, Eleni Rennie at RMIT, Michael Zargam, who some of you may know, who was actually one of the first contributors to SourceCred when I first joined and worked a little on the initial algorithm. Yeah, so there should be a paper coming out soon, which gives you like a little bit more of the SourceCred story. How to get involved? Our Discord. We typically have community calls at 11 a.m. on Tuesdays, but that's might change here. Big announcement: we are taking a month off from December 15th to January 15th, and to incentivize rest, we are airdropping 70,000, maybe a little less depending on who opts in, based on the last 8 weeks of contribution. So we're just fixing the like weekly payouts according to the recent contributions, and 2 minutes of questions. Sorry about that.
Now you have been too fast, because I think I've missed the new algorithm. This was the decay, or?
No, so the decay is that actually is a formula in the payouts. Okay. So that you can like pay out based on recent activity. There's an exponential weighting function. We also just as an experiment applied that to cred weighted voting. And so, yeah.
Okay. I think we continue. No, okay, good. Let me pick 1 or 2 questions from YouTube. First, Derek, amazing the level of democracy in the development of this platform, the startup poll. So fucking cool. So this was a comment. But beforehand, he asked, when people trust this, oh no, this was also a comment. Now, any notable accessibility challenges for people with disabilities to participate and be rewarded for their contributions? Now what?
Yeah, definitely. We are fortunate to have a number of neurodivergent people who are big, activists in this area, notably Aloysius, if you know them. I would like maybe point to them to talk more, since I have very little time. But TLDR, yes, and we're trying to incorporate that into our design decisions.
Okay, cool. Let me spot another one.
I had a quick one in the chat here.
Yeah,
are there any education efforts or requests from communities to like help educate them on the algorithm, maybe as it gets more complex too, just so that everyone knows how their contributions are being ranked? Or is it more up to the users to dig in and investigate themselves?
We definitely have a lot of demand for that. And like, I think we've been lacking in that area. We're in the coming year, we're going to focus more on documentation and education efforts.
All right. Anything else? Last question.
Patty,
Oh.
you asked your question to me on accident. Do you want to ask it out loud?
Sorry, second. Oh, I was very excited about this project, and I was wondering how we can help it. How could we be a part of it? Although I was saying right there, I probably don't have the time for it, but it would be nice to contribute somehow.
Yeah, I would just say dive in. The community call is a great place to start, but you can just dive in and start contributing. We do have a bot which tracks who shows up in a meeting, and then when people emoji react to that meeting, you'll get cred. So just coming and introducing yourself and talking with us will get you a cred score and some money if you want it.
Nice. Okay, thanks.
And David has a final question. Can you share the name of the bot, please?
I think we just call it the meeting bot. Like Athena, if one of our lead devs is the one who coded that. You can probably find more about that on our Discord.